This is The Business of Architecture. Helping architects conquer the world. And here's your host, Enoch Sears.
Well, I want to welcome everyone out to Business of Architecture today. Today we have the honor and privilege of having Jonathan Segal FAIA. He's an architect who's found remarkable success developing and building his own projects. He's considered San Diego's downtown most successful and pioneering architectural development company in 2006, and this was plastered all over all the magazines, so I'm sure most people have heard about it if they're architects. I think it's 2006. Jonathan sold a portion of his portfolio for $45 million. And his companies currently manage over $50 million worth of properties. He's also received multiple honors and awards for his design, and recently he received California AIA's highest honor, the Distinguished Architect Award. So congratulations, Jonathan, and welcome to Business of Architecture.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Great. So what our audience would like to know is, they say, I want to do what Jonathan's done. You know, they look at the success you've had, and I know from the outside it seems it's hard to see the struggle that you've gone through to get where you're at. And so I'm hoping that through our conversation right now we can sort of deconstruct a lot of your early struggles to sort of map out a path for those people who want to head down that same path.
Well, the funny thing is that the early struggles don't go away. I mean, they continue. Each project has what I consider three problems, and then every project has its own three individual problems. So it's not like, you've done so many of these buildings, everything's easy. There's always, a new twist or a new turn, and it's a constant struggle.
Wow.
What I suggest if someone wants to do what I do is to build your own house. That would be the simplest, easiest thing to do, and or start a very small project. You can do a remodel. You can take a single unit and add 3 more units to it and get a loan that actually allows you to do that. There's some magic out there right now. I think it's called a 203K loan that actually allows you to borrow almost all the money to actually acquire the property and do the construction of the remodel to add the 3 more units. And I think you only have to put 5% down. So that's another way of doing it. Or focus on what you do. I mean, if you're an architect that builds and designs 20-unit projects and you feel comfortable doing it because that's your niche, focus on that. But the key to success is keeping it small and slowly working up the food chain. Don't start big because things will go wrong. And when they go wrong, you better have a checkbook to figure out how you're going to rectify your problems, and they're always out there.
Yeah. So if the problems always continue, I mean, why should we get into this, Jonathan? What's in it for us?
Well, my first project I did in 1988, I think I was 25 or 26 years old. I had worked for 2 firms in San Diego, got the experience that I wanted, went on my own. The first project, we won a State of California Honor Award. It was published in Architecture magazine, and I made $500,000. So, money isn't the key to success. It sure helps. And the fact that we got published and the fact that we got that top honor award at the age 25 is pretty sort of solidifying my point that this will help you achieve what you should be achieving 10 years or 20 years earlier than the traditional architectural role will allow you to achieve.
Excellent. So let's break it down. You mentioned about, I think, 3 prototypes right now for people who are just starting out. And one of them was a single-family residence. You said build your own house.
Right.
The second one was, you did mention the 203K loan, which is a rehab loan, I believe, through FHA.
Correct.
Where they can actually borrow money on top of what they used to buy the property to fix it up.
Right, and I believe it's up to 4 units, which also is great because the takeout money for an up to 4 unit is 30-year fixed money, whereas when I do my larger projects, they're Fannie Mae funded takeout loans, but they're only for 10 years. So if you can actually lock in, which today's rate is somewhere around 3.5%, a multi-family project of 4 units for 30 years, it's something you're going to look back on in 10 years and think, wow,
yeah,
I can't believe that actually happens.
Wow. Well,
pretty remarkable.
Interestingly enough, your son Matthew is just completing his first project, I believe, and he's using that scenario. He's doing a 4-plex, right?
Correct, but he's not doing the 203K loan. He did a traditional loan with a bank, and then we'll do a takeout loan after the fact.
Okay.
But he's done quite well, and people can do it, and people should do it. And now is the time to do it. The part that I fear most in the cycle of this world, the first part that goes wrong is the cost of land goes up. The second part is the cost of construction goes up. The third part is the cost of the interest rates go up, and the fourth part is the value of the property starts to drop as the interest rates go up and the cap rates go with it. And we're moving into the second phase, the construction costs going up. We're starting a project in 30 to 60 days. That's 27 units and 9,000 feet of retail. And I'm going to be hoping and praying that we're not going to get caught with the prices just kind of spiraling out of control and contractors being too busy. We're just getting into that phase. The land's already gone up outrageously.
Really
So
interesting.
We're past that phase.
Yeah. Are you hearing the same thing from other architects in other areas of the country that the construction costs are starting to go up?
No, this is just my prediction that it would be this summer, and
Yeah.
I think it's not here yet. I'm hoping and praying to get in. And as I tell everybody on my weekly blog, on the Architect as Developer website, it's coming. You better get in. You better get in now, and you better lock in your prices.
Yeah.
You'll be happy that you did it. The next phase will be making sure that the actual contractors will be there to perform, because sometimes they'll bid on certain projects and then the projects will languish and then all come up at the same time, and then they can't even staff it. So
Gotcha.
just more problems, and it's all problem, management, like you do as a regular architect.
Sure, sure. So one thing that you mentioned in your course is the importance of relationships. And for anyone starting out, I'm thinking that's going to be the first thing they start with is those relationships. Do you have any suggestions for how to find the people that are going to be able to help someone starting out do what they need to do?
Well, the first relationship you'll want would be a realtor to help you find property if you can't find it yourself. So there's a real fine line between sort of overpaying for things, for services to keep relationships intact, and being fair. So just make sure you take care of that broker. And they're a strange crowd. They seem to be apparently on the outside doing little and getting a lot. I'm not sure that that's exactly the case. I think you're paying for their experience. And then the next thing is the general contractor that you should probably use your first time out, just so you understand the lay of the land there. And then the subcontractors, and treat them right. Mm-hmm. Because you want to be that guy at the front of the bus, not the back of the bus. So you want to pay these guys on time. You want to make sure they feel like they're treated properly. Because if they're not, you'll be at the back of the bus. You'll be hating life.
Okay. Now, one thing that one thing that you've talked about in your seminar series too is there's a lot of older towns that have the bungalow with the long lots, alley access, and I know that you've done a lot of different designs and played with themes for that kind of scenario. One thing that you mentioned talking about was an air rights condo, something about air rights. What opportunities might exist for an alley access scenario if someone has a bungalow?
Well, the specific example I think I cited was in an area called Hillcrest, where they do have the alleys, they do have the bungalows in the front, and there is room for 1 to 4 units in the back of it. You potentially could take the bungalow in the front, purchase that with a conventional loan, and then do a lot split, whereby you get a free lot in the back. You could live in the front while you build the one in the back. You move into the back and sell the one in the front, and hopefully the sale in the front significantly subsidizes the one in the back. I mean, if you start off with a free land, clearly that's a massive subsidy. And also you have the ability to live in the property in the front while the construction's going on in the back.
Gotcha. Now I know a lot of communities have limitations on the accessory dwelling unit. So for instance, if you have one property, they're going to limit what you can do with the little house you build behind your house. Are there any tricks to sort of tweak that and get around that and make that happen?
It depends on where you are and what the zoning is. What I was suggesting is you buy a lot that actually allows the zoning for 2 units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I believe in Los Angeles, they actually let you subdivide a lot. Let's say that the lot's able to build 4 legitimate apartment units on it. You can actually subdivide that into 4 lots, fee simple lots. And when I mean fee, you actually own the dirt instead of being a condo, and then you can build 4 houses on it. I don't really want to suggest people go into the for sale housing product. I want them to be in apartments, from a sustainability standpoint. Be green to yourself and develop a sustainable lifestyle so that you have apartment rental income. If you do for sale, you have to pay ordinary income on it. If you do for rent, you have offsetting depreciation, which typically counteracts the profit that you make. So you basically get free income for the term of the depreciation of your property.
Okay, could you explain that to us really quick in layman's terms, how that depreciation works? And
Well, basically, to make it very simple, if you take a property that costs you, let's say, $270,000 to develop, the actual building itself, all in, not including the land, the government allows you to depreciate the residential portion over 27 years. So every year, $10,000, they say the $10,000 of the building's wearing out. So let's say that you have $10,000 of income. You have the $10,000 of depreciation that's offsetting the income. So basically the government said there's no profit on that. So you're basically deferring the tax liability to the end of the road. So if you've got $10,000 coming in and you have depreciation of $10,000, you don't pay any income tax legitimately on that property.
okay, as opposed to fee income, like you mentioned, which
You're getting whacked by the government. I don't know what the rates are. I tend to be on the non-ordinary income side of the equation, so I don't pay attention to much of that. But that's my business. My business model is actually that my architectural company, or let's call it my development company, which has, let's say, 4 to 6 people in it. The rental income pays for that, so I don't try to make any money whatsoever. I make enough money to live on an annual basis, and then the money that's in excess of that actually pays for the development end of the project. So even in the project where there's fees, the fees would be architectural. We do the landscape drawings, electrical drawings, mechanical drawings, and plumbing drawings. Those are all fees that we get. I don't take those fees. So I don't have to pay, basically, I don't have to make a whole bunch of money, pay a whole bunch of tax on it, then pay myself the fees, and then pay tax on the balance of that. I use those as what I call Johnny bucks, which are capital that goes straight into the project. Development fees also come into that equation. So in order to do that and not make any money off the development, I have to have supplemental income, and that's the apartment income. So the apartment income actually pays for, let's call it the machine that actually builds the building. So I'm trying to make a balance sheet increase in my net worth. I don't want a bunch of cash from fees. I want the balance sheet to increase with the real estate.
okay. So just
Hopefully that wasn't too complicated.
well, I'll try to rephrase it here and see if at least
Okay.
I understood it. Maybe
Thank
other
you.
people did too. But so you take your the fees that an architect would normally get, and the consultant fees, obviously, are upfront in the project. And so just to rephrase, it sounds like what you're saying is that instead of submitting a draw order to the bank, getting paid those funds, you're leaving those funds, basically not taking them out, and then that money, it's still part of the construction loan, I would imagine. Do you then just use that to upgrade the project, or what happens to that extra cash that you didn't take out?
Well, let me even make it simpler.
Okay.
If the bank says that your project costs $100,000, they want you to bring in $20,000. They want to lend you 80, or they want to lend you $75,000, and they want you to bring 25,000 cash in. Typically, in my deals, 11,000 of that 25,000 are fees that I'm going to get. So the bank says, fine, only bring in $14,000, and bring in, let's say, your drawings. Let's say your drawings here are worth $11,000 because you've done those services. They acknowledge that it's not like future earnings. You've already done the work. So you hand them the drawings, which are worth $11,000, oversimplifying, and then you bring in a $14,000 check. So if you look at that $11,000, you didn't have to make $14,000, pay $3,000 in tax to the government, to then get the $11,000, to pay yourself the $11,000, to pay another $3,000 in tax. So if you made $14,000 to give the bank 11, you had to pay 6 in tax. Mm-hmm. It's just insane. So if you just sort of circumvent the whole process, roll in with the drawings and all the other parts and bits, it's like found money.
Yeah.
And then the bank will loan you the balance.
Yeah.
Obviously, day one that may not work, but if it's a small enough amount in May, I've just built it up over time where it's almost half of the actual capital that needs to come in is deferred, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
But then again, you still need to keep your day job. and in this analogy, my day job would be the rental income, but in the actual application for, let's say, yourself to build your own house, moonlight, keep the day job, draw the house, build the house, show up at 7 o'clock in the morning, show up at your work at 8, go back at lunch, go back at 4 o'clock, and build this house while you're doing your day job. Don't give up your day job.
Gotcha. Excellent.
You need that income.
Yeah. Okay. So 7 on Kettner, Jonathan, this was your first development project?
Yeah, that was back in 1988. We sold the last unit in 1990 in the spring, and I think the next day the recession hit in San Diego. It was crazy.
Timing.
We've been very fortunate that our timing has been impeccable.
Wow.
So you may heed my advice or you may not, but at least, I've been right a lot of the times, luckily enough. I don't think it's any magic, just been fortunate.
Yeah. And then how did you pull off that first project?
That project, I was working for a firm, and I was actually on a board of directors for downtown for the Center City Development Corporation as one of the residents. There are probably only 30 people that live downtown anyway, so by default I just became on this board, and I met one of the developers named Charles Hyson, and my thesis project was a bunch of row houses from the University of Idaho. And I said, hey, I want to do work for you, like any other architect. I'd like to go on my own and be a poor, dumb architect. And he says, you don't want to do that. He says, my mother is land rich and cash poor. I've got a piece of property next to the railroad tracks at 7,000 feet. It's a triangular site. Give me $5,000, pay $350,000 for the lot and close in 5 months. Okay, that sounds good. And I said, well, would you take $320? He says, you didn't listen to me. $5,000 down, 5 months, $350,000, take it or leave it, that's your deal. I'm in. So I had $5,000. My wife and I went to New York City. We did a typological study of row housing, drew it up, built a model, and a model doesn't lie, and the model's got a really huge cuteness factor. I had a friend that was also on the board named Gary London, who worked for Price Waterhouse, and he put a pro forma together for me. And the pro forma, the bottom line actually worked out, but every single part of it was wrong. The permits were too high, the construction was too low. All the numbers, nothing made sense. But what did make sense on the cover sheet of that pro forma was Price Waterhouse.
PwC.
PwC. So I had something I could take to people that I had met in the high rise, and I said, I'm looking for $500,000, and these people knew downtown, and they gave me $500,000. About a year later, I sold my last unit. I gave them $1,050,000 back, so I doubled their money, and then I had $450,000 that I had made.
Interesting.
So
how much of a sale, Jonathan, was it to raise that $500,000 to those people?
Boy, I hate to say it was easy money, but it was.
Was it?
Yeah, I look back on it, and it was easy money. I've had partners since 1988 all the way through the year 2000, and then at the point in the year 2000, I started taking investors and not partners. Actually, in 1998, I stopped taking investors. I started taking investors and not partners. So basically, the partners would be just taking a huge part of the pie. The investors, I would just basically take a loan from them at a certain interest rate fixed. And if the project was successful, I won. If it wasn't successful, they didn't lose. So they were happy taking a certain fixed rate of income. And that's what I also suggest that the listeners do is don't make them partners, make these people investors, promissory notes.
Yeah.
And we haven't had partners since 1998.
Yeah. And I just want to mention too for our viewers that all the information we're covering here is in much more detail on the Architect as Developer online series that you can find at architectasdeveloper.com. So Jonathan, going back really quick to that easy money, was that a case?
I didn't say easy money. I said it was easier than I thought would be to get it.
Okay, well, fair enough. And was that a product of the time? Was it a product of the people that you were talking to? Are there any keys that we could use to find those kind of people in our own lives?
I think the key to success is having confidence in what you do. I think what we do on a daily basis is sell ourselves. And if you're a bad salesman, it's not going to happen for you. Let's say you're going to try and sell me to invest in your project. I want to know that you understand the neighborhood or the location. I want to understand that you know the product. I want to understand that you've been in that product. If you live in San Jose and you're trying to sell me on Mammoth and you've never skied in your life, but you want to do a condo and you work on office buildings, nothing's adding up for me. But if you're going to do something in San Jose and you live in that neighborhood and you've done projects in that neighborhood and you know everybody and everything that deals with that product type, I have a certain level of confidence. If you can show that you have people that are helping you, I've got a greater level of confidence. Maybe you've done that project type before. Make me feel comfortable that we're on the road to success.
Okay.
If I have an insecurity about something, you're out.
Okay. So I'd like to deconstruct your sales process with that early project really quick, because you said something that caught my interest. You said you flew out to New York City to study specifically urban housing types with your wife. I can't say that's a standard thing I've seen a lot of people that are going after money do. It seems like you sort of went above and beyond. Why did you do that? It seems like that's a big investment for a 20-something who has a day job.
We wanted to understand the typological, we did a typological study on row housing. So we understood how a row house dealt with the street. Too often what happens in downtown environments is you get, and don't take this wrong, but you get two stupid brokers that tie up a piece of dirt, and then they go and find, somebody in a bar that happens to be an architect that does these bad office buildings in suburban hell, and that guy now magically becomes their urban architect. I found, and I still find, that the majority, and I'm going to say 99% of all developers, absolutely could care less about the architecture. Mm-hmm. They want to know that you, the architect, can get them through the process. Mm-hmm. They have these canned drawings they're going to give you, and they really don't understand what it looks like. But going back to what we did the study so we understood proportions, relationships, setbacks, how it dealt with the street, the scale of these buildings, and then we built a model. And the model, the cuteness factor on a model is amazing. You get all these kind of these renderings and so forth that sort of make it look real, but the ability to like have a dollhouse that someone can point at and touch and feel, it's pretty compelling. And people say, wow, if I can see a model, then that can actually get built on that property. They understand it. And that was the big sales tool. Price Waterhouse, which is basically what I talk about, going to people that can convey a sense of knowledge and security. That was that. And then the fact that I had the knowledge of the prototypes and that I was an architect that had done some work, but I just went on my own. It was pretty remarkable. They gave me $500,000, and it was broken up into one person that gave me $250,000, and then 5 other people that gave me, ranging from $35,000 to $75,000 out of their retirement accounts.
Wow.
And they did well. They doubled their money. So.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Jonathan, one thing that you've said before is that, going back, because you just mentioned again, going back to urban buildings, especially urban housing prototypes, you've said that the majority of them are bad urban buildings. And you just gave us a little anecdote about that. You said they're destroying our cities. So,
this is true.
Can you tell me how they're destroying our cities?
Well, all you got to do is just look around. You can see how they don't deal with the street properly. I can't wait to see one more really bad neo-Taco or neo-Renaissance or neo-Tuscan building with vinyl windows in it that have undersized windows that don't deal with the glory of downtown. And we've got a fabulous one in San Diego that's got like 8-foot ceilings on the commercial level with 6'8" vinyl windows. That's the storefront. It's just bad news.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I think the great news for me is that I've seen architects that have taken our course that are now sending me their projects that they've done. And people are not only doing great projects, they're winning awards and they're making money too. I mean, it just, for me, the satisfaction of seeing someone just being proud about what they're doing and not having some horrible developer or horrible contractor just destroying their work or telling them how to do it. It's liberating, and that's what we should be doing. I mean, we are the genius of how these cities are built.
Yeah.
If you look at all the great cities, do they talk about, go back to Palladio and the Medici Palace, and, do they talk about the contractors or the developers? No, they talk about the architects that did these things.
Sure.
And the architect has that ability and that soul-giving ability to create our cities. And the bad ones do a bad job, and the great ones do a great job.
Okay, cool. Well, Jonathan, I think you definitely have passed the 10,000 hour mark that Malcolm Gladwell talks about in his book about becoming an expert in these apartment prototypes.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any way we can synthesize, have a little brain dump here? What have you learned about the ideal urban apartment?
It changes, and the coolest part of what I do is every day is a new day, every day is a new deal, every day has new issues. I mean, to digress a little bit, my day is made up of dealing with bankers, dealing with subcontractors that can't read, can't write, can't spell, but they're part of the equation too. So I've got kind of a blue collar mentality and a white collar mentality and a sophisticated one, and a dumb four-letter word spectrum that I evolve in. And as the day goes by, we're looking at trying to develop what I consider the ultimate urban unit, and that unit is actually, it's not the 400 square footer, it's 350. It's 12 feet wide, it's 16 feet tall, and 24 feet deep, and it has a loft on top of a bathroom, and it rents incredibly high per foot, and incredibly low on a price point, so we can provide individual housing. And this prototype is something we're hoping to now, we've integrated in a couple buildings, but now I hope to do a building of these. So that's exciting for me. We have a Canada Dry warehouse that we're renovating, in the 60 units. We have 27 units we're building brand new in the North Park area. So every project's different. It's not like I take this prototype, pull it out of a drawer, slam it on the property. The excitement of a new project, and the excitement of doing it until it's done. I don't keep my hours. We just have the ability to design something, and when it's done, we build it. We're not jammed into, a horrible fee, so everything doesn't get resolved. We just work it until it gets resolved, and it's a wonderful process. It's a wonderful lifestyle. It's a difficult lifestyle. It's tough. You have to be very tough with a strong stomach. But the absolute rewards and gratification are fabulous. And I'm not talking about financial. That comes. You do a great building, you do great work, and you do a great product, you're going to make money. Mm-hmm. You do a horrible project, you're not. So every decision is based on architecture versus every decision being based on the bottom line. You got to watch the bottom line. You got to watch the pennies, so the dollars will take care of themselves. But the bottom line is you do great work and you will be compensated for it. Okay.
Now, I know you're also one of the co-founders of the Art Real Estate Development Program at Woodbury.
Ted Smith and myself. He's really the genius behind it. And Ted is a genius. I mean, I can't talk highly enough about Ted and his abilities. And we've become great friends over this. So I think about 6 or 7 years ago, Ted wanted to start a school. He's always wanted to. And out of my appreciation for Ted, I said, hey, I'd love to help you. And so the two of us did start this. Sebastian Mariscal used to work for me, is part of it. He's actually moved away, but he's still part of it. Lloyd Russell's part of it. He used to work for Ted. Brett Farrow, who used to work for me, is part of it. Mikey, there's like probably 5 other people that are part of it now. And it's a fabulous school where people come for a year and basically get nonstop time of ourselves to work on developing how you do these projects. And then their thesis at the end is actually a project. And we've had 3 students, Mikey being one of them. He's blossomed into a huge architect doing development. We help you through your project. So it's a 1 annual year course, 2 semesters in a summer, in San Diego.
Okay. And what successes have you seen your students doing? Has there been a common thread, something there that you've seen that they've done that's creative that you could pass on to our listeners?
We probably have had, over the last 6 years, 2 students out of every class on average, sometimes 4, sometimes 1, that have actually done work.
And how many students are in each class?
It ranges from 12 to 15.
Okay.
And it's amazing. I mean, seriously, we've had people that have just gotten out of their undergrad and people that are 20 years into their career. It's a great way to do it. You may want to take my seminar to start to understand what we do, But if you really want the hands-on, you go through all the different prototypes. Um, it's a great education. I think it's the best real estate developer school that exists in the country because we're the real deal. I mean, we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of people that, are professors that are talking about it. We're actually doing it. And you get to see my projects, and I'm very open and anecdotal about all the work that I'm doing on a daily basis. You're following it. You're coming on a weekly basis through my work. Whoever's building a building, you're coming to their projects and witnessing the process.
Okay. And those students that you see that are having success, what are they doing differently than others that aren't?
They're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones that aren't having success aren't doing it. They don't. They haven't put forth the effort or haven't had ability to put forth the effort.
Okay. And when you say doing it, what's the first step? I mean, it sounds like a dumb question, but if I'm going to do it, you already mentioned find a real estate agent. You mentioned talking to general contractors. How should we start?
The most important thing is the property, right?
Okay.
So if you don't have a property, you don't have a project. If you don't have a project, you don't have a deal.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tie up a piece of property. And when I say tie up, you have to tie it up. You don't have to go and say to an investor, oh, here's a piece of property I'm interested in, because that investor will go, great, let me go tie it up. And now it's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules, right? So if the investor has the property tied up, they're going to dictate back to you how the game's run. And one of the important things that I keep drilling is control. You must have control. You must control the property, control the design, control the product, control the contractors, control every aspect of what you're doing. And once you let someone else get in front of you, then you've lost that control. So you've got to tie up a piece of property. You've got to go and understand the neighborhood. I always suggest developing in your neighborhood and find that piece of property. Put an offer down on it, tie it up. Once you've tied it up, then you've got all the opportunity in the world to start making that into something.
Okay. Would you have any suggestions for architects that find themselves in a market that has low market rents? For instance, I know San Diego right now commands pretty high rents being a metro area. For other architects like myself that live in smaller communities, we can't justify, you could get a nice apartment here for $1,000 a month, so it changes the finances on that. Do you have any suggestions for how to make these deals work in that kind of scenario?
Well, everything's relative, right? So if
Sure.
my land is costing me $65,000 a door, your land's probably costing you $5,000 a door. At some point, things have to work out. If they don't work out, then you can't do it. I can't make an equation change because the community has a lower rent and has a higher cost of construction and has a higher cost of land. So all that stuff has to be compressed down, as I'm sure it is. That $1,000 a month unit sells for, on the open market, half the $2,000 unit that I have. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand enough of the dynamics to help you with that. But clearly, if people are building something in your community, somehow it works out.
Yeah. And
Not always. People lost a lot of money in real estate. It's a scary proposition.
Yeah. Well, I just want to mention too that this is another thing in your Architect as Developer course. You do have a couple pro formas in there that outline where you can just plug in these numbers and figure out what a project would be worth.
Yep, I do a single family house, and then I actually show my house that I did, and then there's the 9-unit K-lofts, and I show the one that I did, and I give all of the documentation, all the paperwork for the acquisition, for the bank loans, for the partnerships, for the title. I go through all the processes and the steps that it took to do these deals.
Okay. Now, what are some cool things that you're seeing your students doing, Jonathan?
Mike has actually done affordable housing, which I don't suggest you do because the rents can't go up a certain level, but the cost can come up. So your ceiling's here and your floor can do this, whereby typically the rents are going up and your costs are coming a little bit with it, but the rents should be expanding past that. So he's doing that. They're doing the 203K loans, and they're doing well with it.
Okay.
That's the hot tip right now, is the 203K loan.
203K, excellent. And I've heard you say before that you're always arguing to make your product simpler and less expensive, and this is what helps them work, that you try to focus in on that and sort of balance that with the design.
It's important that you shake your buildings and get all the stuff to fall off. The simpler or the less expensive it's going to be, the simpler, the faster it's going to be to build. the simpler, the less waterproofing problems you're going to have, the simpler, the less leaks you're going to have. And trust me, all buildings leak, all buildings have waterproofing problems, and all buildings have complexities. But if you can start to reduce that, then the contractors don't have to think as much. You don't have to think as much. And I think there's purity in design that's simple. But that's also our language of our design is purity and simplicity. It's based on proportion and daylight and spatial quality. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about mansards and faux trim and so forth, that's just our architecture.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I love the Union project that you've done. I mean, well, I love all of them, but just that proportion just really jumps out. I think that that's obvious that you concentrated on the proportion and the space. And these properties you've done, they're not necessarily in the nicest neighborhoods. Is that right?
No, thank you for the compliment. No, they're typically the B properties that, and I hear it every single time. Oh, you overpaid for that property. And then when I get it done, boy, you were a genius. You got that property so cheap. Well, it's because they don't have these visions. I mean, the developers don't have a vision. We developed the property called the Charmer, which is on Chalmers Street. That's how we kind of come up with all these stupid names. And we were able to develop, I think, 45 or 50 units on the project. But that was not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do is I wanted to develop a courtyard with autos in it, and I wanted to develop bungalows around it, which is a pattern it's throughout San Diego and LA, probably other cities too. So we developed, I think it's 21 units, and then we have 5,000 square feet of commercial. So I didn't max this thing out. I created architecture, and it became less expensive and simpler to do, and we created something that was important to us. So that's, again, architecture leads, not the bottom line leads. Plus, the most important part of that is when we do our work, we try to fly under the radar. We don't want the community involvement. We are not about, one big group hug. We're about getting in, being stealth, and getting out. Because people don't understand modern architecture. People think it's all bad. We have a project now in the North Park area, and the community's up at arms. Like, hey, how come we can't see this project? Well, guess what? Because we're building 27 apartments, and I have by right the ability to do that. If I want to go over 35 units, I think is the number, then you guys can look at all you want. But guess what? That's not going to happen because I don't need you to delay me 6 to 9 months. And the funny thing is, you look at these community groups, and you look at the horrible buildings that get built in their community, and then all they do is complain about it. Well, guess what? They were part of that. You can't mandate and dictate good design. And these people think you can. And you can't. All you can do is slow down progress. And we're not interested in that.
Now,
so stay away from the community groups.
Yeah, do things by right. I've heard you say that.
Yes,
many
big
times.
time.
Big time, especially in California, anywhere there's regulation.
Yes.
Now, the Charmer project, I mean, there's so much going on there. I've looked at the photographs, I've looked at the website. I mean, it's one of those projects where it takes a while to figure out what's happening. Looking at the floor plans and everything, it's intricate, and there's cool floating boxes and stuff. But I believe you're in the Charmer project right now, is that right?
We have a temporary office in the Charmer, yeah.
Yeah, temporary office, okay. So tell me a little bit about the Charmer.
Well, again, the Charmer was developed with the idea that every single space has an outdoor courtyard to it.
Okay.
And it's just amazing how it started off, and I'll give you, for instance, my pro forma was to do the one-bedroom units and rent them for, I think, $1,100 a month. So we started renting out the building, and then these guys have all these kind of wonderful asphalt shingles on them, so they really do feel like these little bungalows, and they have large outdoor spaces that are 18 by 10. So there's a large outdoor space. It's a 2-story product. You walk by it, there's a French door that opens onto the sidewalk. There's this dialogue that happens with all the people that live there. The kids come out and play in this courtyard. There's no fences. There's no electronic gate to stop the people from coming in. Dogs are walked out there. It's a community space that happens. There's not a barbecue there. There's not a swimming pool there. There's not a weight gym there, which is typical on these things. It's just a community space. And the rents that started when we started renting it 2 years ago, the first one rented for $1,250, second one was $1,350, then $1,450, up to $1,800 a month now for a one-bedroom unit, which is absurd. It's just incredible. But the people want to be here because they feel comfortable in our buildings.
Interesting. And Jonathan, I know you've been able to, over time, you've been able to innovate with this urban housing prototype. You've been able to experiment, you've been able to see what works, what doesn't, and sort of, do new things as new projects come along. I'm sure you have 1,000 ideas of stuff you want to do. People want to find out more about your projects. Where do they go to find out about the Charmer or some of these other works you've done?
Well, we have Jonathan Segal Architect.com is our architectural website, and we have these fabulous movies that were made by our magic film producer. I'm lost for names right now. Jeff Durkin. Jeff Durkin. Yeah, not K-Dog. They're incredible, and you can just see this is the future. I think these stills are not the future for architecture. But just you can feel the spatial quality. You can see the dynamics of how light moves through a building. And Durkin's made incredible videos. There's one of the Charmer. There's one of the Q. There's a global one that we have. He's getting ready to do the Cresta, which is a house in La Jolla we built out of concrete. We built a house for I think $300 a foot out of cast-in-place concrete.
Wow.
Which in La Jolla would be $700 a foot.
Wow.
So back to your question about, or your statement about the cost of construction and so forth, we're willing to take something that has a little soul and maybe some imperfections rather than just beating this stuff to death about making it perfect. And I think that's part of it. We're interested in 95%.
Sure.
We don't need 100%.
What was your secret to get that $300 cast-in-place concrete?
We use all of our contractors that build our apartments, and they're not La Jolla, based.
Yeah.
Time and material take forever, guys. These are guys that build our subterranean parking retaining walls, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful work.
Gotcha. Well, Jonathan, everyone is curious to know what's up with the shirt, and I left it for the end because that is an awesome shirt. You got to show us this.
I got the back side of it. I wish, like I was saying before, I wish the front was on the back and the back was on the front. And hopefully, as I hold this up, this is the other side of the shirt. So you can wear this to bed with your wife, or you can walk around the city with it. But as long as they understand that you got to respect the architect, take control, and let's turn this around. Let's turn these bad cities that are getting bad buildings into great cities that have great buildings.
Very good, ladies and gentlemen. So turning our communities around, adding design to our cities, all of these things, you are promoting them through your teaching at Woodbury and through your Architect as Developer seminar.
Correct.
So tell me about the seminar. Let's finish up with that.
Well, the seminar is something that gets you, I think it's 8 learning credits for the AIA, and I don't know if the state of California needs those too. But I think it's $500, and you get a book that's downloaded that has all of my contracts, all of my experiences have been there. I'll show you when you enter escrow, here's a purchase agreement, here's what to look for. Then I talk about title, and I basically explain, the best way I can, all the parts and bits that are part of doing a development. And it's more about the legal aspects to protect yourself during that. I teach you how to get the proper indemnity. So when you're doing a project, everybody else is protecting you with all of their insurance versus the traditional architect. He protects everybody with his insurance. You'll be able to rest and sleep better at night knowing that you're not getting screwed and the people are protecting you. So the indemnity is important. Yeah. Control is important. Numbers. Just goes through all the parts and bits, and I show anecdotal elements of problems I've had and how to resolve them.
Okay. So Jonathan, you've been doing this for how long? Roughly years?
25 years.
Okay. So you've taken 25 years of experience. You've compressed that down into an online course that people can view at their own pleasure. In your packet, because I've taken the course and I am a fan of it. I mean, my goodness, if there's a shortcut to learning all this information and not having to make the same mistakes that Jonathan made, and he'll tell you he's made a few.
Quite a few.
$500 is a very cheap price, and so you get pro formas that he's using on his projects. He goes into insurance, liability, property acquisition, raising funds. What else am I forgetting?
The pro forma, the business plans.
Yeah, business plans.
And every other week I actually sort of tell you, it's called Johnny's World of my life, what's happened, what I'm going through, things that are more current, more relevant. As we were talking earlier about this bank now wanting the soils engineer to basically have a contract with the bank saying everything's good. Well, they want $1 million insurance to go with that, and my soils engineer caps their liability to $10,000 of the contract. Well, I scratch that out because that doesn't work for me. I'll talk to you about that in my seminar too. And now the bank says, well, we need this contract. So I have a potential issue. So if I can tell you about that today, and you're going to come up with the same issue in 2 or 3 months, I'm helping you avoid a problem. This could be an expensive problem. I may have to hire another soils engineer and pay $10,000 to $15,000 to do the work they just did. So if I can save you $10,000 or $15,000 on that matter, and there's 5 other matters I'm doing the same because I'm telling you ongoing what bank rates should be. I can tell you what the interest rates are, what the cap rates are. I can give you information that you can use to negotiate out of certain things. And then you send in questions. So if you say, I had a problem with my plumber, here's what happened, X, Y, Z, what should I do? I'll read that and I'll answer that the best I can.
Yeah.
And any other issues, banks, acquisitions, properties, as you asked about, investors and so forth. So, I mean, it's exciting for me to see people doing it. It's interesting for me to keep sort of fresh on what I'm doing and telling other people about it. And it's just great to see architects flourish.
Yeah.
And make some money. What's wrong with that?
Nothing apparently,
Nothing's
right?
wrong with that, yeah. Yeah, let's do that, please.
So they have, I mean, so you're going to get, with Architects as a Developer course, you get the chapter videos, which are amazing, amazing cinematography that sort of chronicle your path and different prototypes. They get the book that goes along with it, plus they get access to the forums and a question and answer session, like you said, that I found to be very useful, where you talk about the latest stuff you're doing and breaking news, like the thing you just shared with us.
Correct, correct. We actually did 2 seminars. I did one in Los Angeles, and I did one in Washington, D.C., and I think the Los Angeles one had 750 people, and I stood up all day and did that. And then in D.C. we had probably 650 people. I think that was 07 and 08. I think the recession was just happening or coming at us. So I figured I couldn't do it again. I couldn't stand up for that 8 hours, just go through all my PowerPoint. So that's why we put the seminar on. So it cost more to go to the seminar I did, and you also had to fly there and put yourself up. So I think this is a lot easier, and you can do it at your leisure. It's broken into parts, and you can watch it. I don't know if there's a duration by which you're allowed to watch it, but you can do it at your leisure. And you can go back and look at parts and bits that maybe you didn't understand.
And how much would you say it cost you, Jonathan, to put together all these contracts over the course of time, the ones you're sharing with us in this course?
I'm sure there's $20,000 to $30,000 worth of costs just in the work that I did and refining it. And I'll give you a subcontract agreement that you can use on your project that protects you. And when I say protects you, it's like almost absolute as far as the protection you're going to get. Or you can use the wrong subcontract and someone messes something up on your property and you get screwed. So it's really important to protect yourself. And most architects don't get that education. And I'm giving you all the education in the contracts to keep away from pitfalls that will hurt you, that you shouldn't be hurt for. By default, not by design, you get hurt.
Okay.
Unfairly.
Great. Yeah, very true. Well, Jonathan, I will go ahead and put links at the bottom of this video to everything we talked about today, to your Charmer project, your Jonathan Segal Architect website, plus the Architect as Developer website, and the program at Woodbury University. So interested parties can check that out. Thank you for your time, and any parting words for aspiring architect developers?
Don't be scared, just do it. It's probably easier to do development than it is to be a real architect. And I do thank you for doing this, setting this up, and it's pretty exciting, the new technology and how we can all support ourselves. And let's hope that everybody can do better architecture. That's the key right there. Just the satisfaction of doing your own work and seeing your sculpture just created in 3D and large.
You bet. All right. Well, thanks, Jonathan Segal,
Thank you.
FAIA. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Well, that's it for today. If you like this video, please share it by clicking one of the share buttons. And to get updates when I post a new article, video, or podcast, visit businessofarchitecture.com, sign up for our email list, and I'll send you my exclusive ebook, Social Media for Architects.
Everybody knows that you just gotta do it.